Okay, so Manchester City have beaten Sheffield United 3-0 in the FA Cup semi-final, the first of the two semi-finals today. Noticeable things from this semi-final. First half, Man City looked laboured, not at the races. I think they were lucky to go in up 1-0. I think the penalty's a 50-50 decision. I think whichever way the referee gives it on the field, I think VAR was going to back him up. I've seen those decisions not given, and I have seen them given. Did the young lad get the ball or not? I don't know. It's a silly challenge to make. I think that is, I think the error of judgment was to rashly go in and make the challenge on Bernardo Silva. But until that moment, Man City weren't looking particularly at the races. A lot of possession, obviously, because it's Manchester City, but they weren't doing enough with it. Laboured in possession, slow, methodical, and it's very easy to defend and set up and be organised. And Sheffield United were very, very organised. And were roughing them up in midfield a little bit. Some challenges going in. Man City looked vulnerable with the high defensive line. And in the first 5 minutes, Sheffield United were having a bit of fun with that. They get their first corner after just a minute's play. Ortega makes a very, very good save from Ndai. And Sheffield United created the better chances in the first half. Fotheringham only had a couple of saves to make. Then the penalties given. Now, I think VAR has actually worked effectively. Because it's a 50-50 decision, if the referee says no penalty, play on, I think VAR would back him up. If he says penalty, VAR has backed him up. Because it's not a clear and obvious error. I think that's what you really need VAR for. Very well taken penalty across his body. He sends the keeper the wrong way. And I think that settled Man City's nerves a little bit, and they sort of were a little bit better after that. But for the first period of the second half, they were still a little bit laboured and lethargic in possession and some sloppy passes. And Sheffield United still in the game, still good defending with this high line. And then the Mahrez second goal comes from a turnover. I think by this point, Sheffield United have their tanks starting to run out. They are starting with the amount of defending they had to do. Eventually, they are going to tire. And Mahrez, in the first half, was pretty much glued to his right wing. In the second half, he makes those runs inside. Now, normally that would be a Gundogan or De Bruyne run in from deep. De Bruyne wasn't playing today, and that was very noticeable. Haaland did not have a big impact on the game. When De Bruyne is not playing or not playing at his best, or is not on the field, Haaland's goal scoring just disappeared. His goal scoring percentages are 70-75% when De Bruyne is playing, and when he's not playing, or when they're not on the field at the same time. It's very, very noticeable. And I think Man City missed De Bruyne in midfield today, dictating the play. Gundogan is a very, very good midfielder. It's not taking away from Gundogan's leadership, and he did lead very well and distribute very well. But it is noticeable, without De Bruyne in the side, Man City don't look the same. And I think that had an impact on how Man City played today. Take nothing away from the 2 goals in the second half. I mean, they are brilliant. They move the ball quickly, and Mahrez with those runs, he's finally left his wing and come inside, where I think you could play Mahrez a little bit more centrally. He has pace. This is what strikes me. He does have a lot of pace, which, sticking him out on the wing, can go up and down the wing all day. He's not as good tracking back as I think you would like him to be. I think he was pretty decent today tracking back, but he's got pace. The thing is, he's very left foot centric, so he keeps wanting to cut in. He doesn't do much with his right foot. It would have been interesting to see if he'd swapped wings with Grealish. Grealish doesn't suit being out wide all the time. He needs to be a bit more central. I don't think this is where Grealish, I don't think, suits the Man City style that Guardiola wants him to play. That's why his goal-scoring stats at Villa are far better than they are at Man City. Although he's starting to buy into the Man City system, he does create the third Mahrez goal. But I think that was another part of the problem with City today, was Mahrez was always glued on his right wing. Grealish glued on his left wing in the first half, not coming in to the midfield. And I think Grealish in the midfield in the centre is more effective, personally. But even though he had a decent game on the left wing, it would have been nice to see him swap wings with Mahrez or come in a bit more centrally during attacks. And you can see Guardiola was frustrated on the bench. Now, they've won 3-0. I don't think they'll be happy with how they've won 3-0. I don't think they'll be happy that it took until the second half for them to fully, really play the Man City way. I think Sheffield United did make it difficult for them. And Man City fell into that trap of having a lot of possession but not doing a lot with it. Sheffield United didn't take advantage of their counter-attacks and that City high line, which is a shame. I wish if they had scored off early in that first 5 minute spell when they were restarting brightly, I think we have a different debate, and I think we might have gone to extra time and penalties. The game would have played out differently because Man City have to chase the game. And Man City, when I've noticed, when Man City go behind in games under Guardiola, sometimes they're not great at chasing it. And without De Bruyne on the field, it's very noticeable when he doesn't play, as I say. But take that away, the two goals from Mahrez in the second half. Finally, he's left his wing and he's come into the middle, and it creates a different challenge for the Sheffield United defender, should I say, to deal with. Um, and I think that's where Grealish and Mahrez actually have a lot of joys when they actually do come in on those arcing runs without the ball, because I think the way they were playing in the first half played into Sheffield United's hands. And as I say, Haaland, not a massive impact from the game today, which is very noticeable. Another thing I noticed, a lot of empty seats at Wembley today, both in the Man City and Sheffield United sections. It was very, very noticeable. It wasn't a full sold-out crowd. And that debate of having both semi-finals at Wembley is going to rage on. Go back to neutral grounds like they used to, like Hillsborough and Villa Park, for example. Highbury's been used. That debate will be had again. Both sides from the north of England, should they have played at a neutral ground in the north of England, and should the second semi-final, for example, be in the Midlands, because one team's from the south, one team's from the north. That debate is going to continue about the FA having both semi-finals at Wembley now. The empty seats was very, very noticeable. The atmosphere was fantastic, take nothing away from that, but we're starting to see more and more empty seats at Wembley games, be it rugby league, football, whatever the sporting occasion may be. That is something that is very, very noticeable to take out of this game. As well. Also, another note, that's the first semi-final hat-trick by Mahrez, obviously, since 1958. It's been a very, very long time since one player scored 3 goals in a semi-final. What was if we see a hat-trick tomorrow? I mean, that record would have lasted a day, but that's a record that's lasted a very, very long time. No player has ever scored 4 goals in a semi-final, by the way, so that record hasn't been broken yet, but a semi-final hat-trick, first one since 1958 in the FA Cup, which is very, very interesting stat. And Man City do not have a great record in semi-finals in the FA Cup in recent years as well. They've lost the previous 3 in a row. They were hoping not to become the first side to lose 4 in a row. They've not done that. They get through to the final. But then you look at their record in the FA Cup since the Abu Dhabi takeover. They haven't won it a lot. They've only won it twice. So their FA Cup final record isn't fantastic. Yes, they've got a FA Cup final record scoreline in one of them, but they've only won it twice. That's very noticeable that they've dominated the League Cup, they've dominated the Premier League, can't win the FA Cup regularly. So they have a golden opportunity this season. I think Brighton might actually be tougher opposition than Manchester United for them, with how form is going lately and how all the teams are playing. But what is nice, more to take out of the game, Haaland without De Bruyne on the field didn't have a massive impact on the game. Mahrez was fantastic. That was very noticeable. Grealish, I think, is slowly buying into the Guardiola style of play that he wants him to play. He wants him to be more of a wide player than a central player. I don't think it's his natural game, but he's adapting to the Man City way as time goes on. He does create the third Mahrez goal with great vision. But I think Grealish is better suited being in the middle of the field. He can dictate play a bit more. The Aston Villa system that he played under, he was more central and was allowed a roving, floating role. Under this Guardiola system, he wants him to play out wide, which I don't think suits him and his style of play. But he was decent today as well. But again, that City high line looks vulnerable. So we'll see how it plays out. Man City not at their best. Sheffield United, they were plucky opponents. I think their focus is on promotion. All they need is 3 more points, and they're up. They need to win one of their remaining games. But from a viewership standpoint, Man City not at their best, but did enough to win. Better in the second half over the first half, more relaxed in the second half, but they looked off the boil today. And I think on another day of Sheffield United scoring that first 5 minutes when they're starting brightly, we have a different debate than the one we're currently having. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.